Creating case studies is often a painfully slow process for accounting and other professional services firms, despite the incredible value that they offer. Senior people could write them, but often don't have the time or the copywriting skills or just hate writing. And as a result, firms miss out on this powerful marketing and sales tool. In this episode, I'll show you how to make it fast and easy to create case studies using AI, even if the person preparing them wasn't involved in the meetings with the client. Using a simple checklist and a smart AI prompt, your team can turn rough notes and call summaries into a compelling story. Welcome to De-Stress Your Business, the podcast where we show you how to get incredible results in your business without constant stress. I'm Alexis Kingsbury, a serial entrepreneur and founder at AirManual. Now, if you're anything like the firms that I work with, you know that case studies are gold. They help prospective clients see themselves in the story. They show what's possible, and they often tip the scales in your favor when someone is deciding who to work with. But most firms hardly ever create them, or at least rely on a couple that they created many years ago. Why? Because it takes too much time. And the people that could do it, your senior leaders and salespeople, usually hate writing, and they're busy enough already. And even when a partner or a senior person in the firm says, this client that we've just worked with would make a great case study, nothing happens. They might be in the best position to write a case study on the basis of having had all the client interaction or knowing the wider picture or strategic picture, etc. But when they try to write it themselves, they get stuck, they get pulled onto other things, they end up just staring at a blank page and ultimately give up, or at least nothing ends up able to be shared with clients or on your own website or whatever. Now, the traditional way of creating case studies relies on lots of memory, lots of manual effort, and often a heroic burst of copywriting energy. It's inconsistent and it's painful. And I've been there in that same experience in my businesses where case studies are really powerful. I'm not great at writing them generally. My business partner, Paddy, is better at writing them, but often doesn't have as much client contact as I do, so he doesn't have the detail that's needed. So a better way to do this is structured, fast, and doesn't even require the person who was in the client meetings to write it. So I'm going to take you through how to solve that problem for good. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you're going to get to see my screen and I'm going to take you through exactly how to do this. But I'll do my best for those who are audio only to describe what I'm seeing at each stage of the journey so that you can then at least get a sense of what it looks like, and then you can use the links that I'll provide to the resources that I'm going to mention, or you can go to destressyourbusiness.com to come and watch the video version of this episode. So the first thing to mention is where this all came from. So I was working on a playbook that I've been developing for accountancy firms on winning more ideal clients. And as part of that playbook, I included a really simple checklist that anyone can use to gather the information needed for a case study. The playbook itself, by the way, on winning more ideal clients has got loads of great content in it. It's got information on why that matters, the common mistakes to avoid, how to create great sales and marketing processes and add the wow factor and use technology and so on. But there's also some best practice templates, some checklists that cover a variety of areas, including how to identify and refine your ideal client avatar and how to run a discovery call with a client, but also how to capture a client success story. This particular checklist, Capturing a Client Success Story, takes you through a series of steps to prepare to do that, including identifying what you're going to use as a success story. And it should be based on working with one of your ideal clients, i.e. one that you'd like to clone. And it provides some guidance on how to do this, the key information and some questions that you could ask a senior team member if you weren't involved in the client meetings and you haven't got anything recorded from those meetings, what you could ask the senior person and essentially interview them. And I highly recommend at least recording that interview with that senior person. But also it includes some steps after anonymizing sensitive detail and so on to craft the story and to put it into a really good structure. And as part of that checklist, I've got a specific prompt that can be used with AI. I use ChatGPT extensively, so I'm going to use that as the example, that can be used to prompt the AI to then take whatever you've got in the form of call notes or a transcript or an AI call summary of multiple calls or whatever, and take that and turn that into a decent case study. So what I'm going to do is copy out all of that part of that prompt so that we can use that in this process. And I'm going to switch over to ChatGPT to help me then create this. And so I'll open it up on here. And so I'm going to paste that in to give you some context. So it starts off, you're a professional copywriter creating a compelling success story for in this case, accountancy firm. Below is a transcript or detailed coordinates from a conversation between the firm and one of its clients. The discussion covers and then it's got guidance on the style, but also the structure for the case study that we're looking for. And essentially at the end, it just says, if you understand this, ask me for the transcripts and notes and so on. So I can just hit send. It's going to quickly review that, and it should ask me for the notes and transcripts I'm going to give, which it has done. So fortunately, I've got an example prepared already. So I'm just going to grab that and paste this in. And these are written just as notes. So it's like, George seems a lot more upbeat than our last call. And then it's got a little quote. And then there's various other bullet points that kind of cover some of the key details from the call. And that might have been prepared by a senior team member who was on the call. It might be from an AI call summary. So if you use a tool like Fathom Video or Vinyl or Fireflies or Otter.ai, you can use those tools to create a summary of your call, of your meeting, that you could then use as a starting point, or you might have a transcript, or it might just be your notes. But we can give that and put that into the same chat. And what it's going to do is then draft us a case study based on the prompt and based on the notes. Now, it will do its best based on the information that we give. If we provide very sparse amount of information without any detail and without any quotes, it'll work with what it's given. But obviously, the more that you can give it, the better, even if that means giving multiple transcripts or summaries from multiple calls over your course of working with them. It will draft it, and you'll see that it'll, so what it's provided is a great title. So it says, it's quoted, in this case, George says, "I'm not just crossing my fingers anymore. How George took back control of his business and his sanity." And then it's got a nice executive summary that says, George runs a specialist print business, the kind where timing, pricing, and cash flow matter just as much as creativity and customer service. Just 18 months ago, he was feeling the pressure. Unpredictable cash flow, vague pricing, no clear sense of which services were actually turning a profit. Today, things are different. With support from our accountancy firm, George has transformed how he runs the financial side of his business. He's sleeping better, planning confidently, and even preparing to invest in his growth, with profitability up 18% and stress levels way down. And then it continues, and it breaks the case study into the structure that I gave it in the prompt, which is the challenge that George was experiencing, along with some quotes, the turning point of when the accountancy firm stepped in, the solution, what we actually did with them, and the results. And it lists out things like profitability up 18%, even with slightly lower revenue, no more cash flow chaos, greater clarity and control, new confidence to grow, lower stress, better sleep, more headspace. And then also includes a key lessons learned from it as well, and some quote highlights that could then be used if I was giving this to a designer, or if I was using a tool like Canva to create something pretty, or whatever format you've got for sharing some case studies, or even as part of perhaps a social media post, I could take the quotes and put them in little speech bubbles or whatever. But this is enough that even a junior member of staff, if given this, assuming it's then been reviewed and edited to make sure that it's factually correct by the senior team member. But for the senior team member, this is a quick thing for them to review. It could be given to a junior team member who then, using an agreed format, or if they've got some design skills, or even reaching out to an outsourcer like on Fiverr or whatever, would be able to produce a very professional looking case study template that you could then populate, and you could use that same template over and over again with different case studies that you prepared in this way. And so what this means is that straight after a call, you'd be able to start creating that case study. You don't need a copywriter. You can just use this smart AI prompt. You can take the bullet point answers and quotes and so on that you've got and put it straight into the AI to give you a really strong draft. And the thing that I really love about this is that I've now used this across my own businesses where team members have been able to draft a case study, having not even been on the call, and then I'm just able to review them and either make some tweaks if I have more knowledge of it, or put some comments and questions. They make some changes, but very quickly we get to a point that we've got a significant number of case studies that we can use in the business. So there you go. That's how you can use a simple checklist that covers the key steps for creating a case study, including both prompting AI, but then also amending the draft, getting it reviewed by a colleague, and then sharing it afterwards to enable anyone in your team to create really compelling case studies, even if the senior team members, the salespeople, etc., don't feel they have the time or the skills. Now, if you want the detailed checklist and indeed the full playbook on how to win more ideal clients with all the other step-by-step checklists that are there, it's available at airmanual.co/resources. You'll also find other playbooks in there as well that cover a variety of different areas. But this one on winning more ideal clients has got some really great gold in there. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's been involved in my research. If you've been interviewed by me over the course of the last 6 to 12 months, particularly there's a special thanks section in the playbook for people who went above and beyond providing examples or quotes or specific feedback on what I developed. So I really appreciate all that input that's been provided, because people have been incredibly generous with their expertise, their experiences and their time. So thank you to all of you that have been involved with that. But for anyone else, do check out that playbook. It'll really help you as a starting point for massively accelerating how successfully you're able to do your sales and marketing, and even leveraging your team to do so that you're not depending on the practice owner or owners or other senior team leaders. One other thing before you go is that I'm going to be speaking at Accountex on the 14th of May 2025, right at the end of day one of the 2-day event on the Orbit stage at the London Excel Centre. I'll be diving into a completely different topic, but one that I think is really, really important if you want your business to thrive. The session's called How to Get the Best Out of Your People, even if they're terrible. It's going to be a really fun, brutally honest session, packed with lots of practical tips on turning underperformance into progress without becoming a micromanaging monster. So if you're planning to be at Accountex, then please do come along, say hi, let me know that you've been listening to the podcast. Really appreciate it. And we can talk about some of the people-related stress points that you've had in your business. But otherwise, until next time, have fun.